Tēnā tātou, e pai e tūtaki ki a koutou, kei wānganui o tātou kaupapa. Kei te mihi ki a koutou e nā rangatira mā. He mihi atu ki a koutou me tō koro ai ki au. Hariko tēnā koutou. Aye. Well, it's beautiful to see you all today. Oh my God, what an act to follow, right? Got the politicians, all politicians, right? Definitely. Could have had Cora up here. Anyway, we, as was said, we're Tihi o Ruahine, and actually on the couch, I feel like this is like a therapy session. On the couch are several of the board members for Tihi o Ruahine, and Ngā Kaitiaki o Ngāti Kauwhata, Te Rōpū Hokawhitu, which are the 7 northern hapu of Ruahine Whānau Ora, who stand in their own mana, but we are very close partners and work well together, Birilu. Mahalia Paiwai, who is the CE for Te Ora, which is Rangitane ki Tamaki Nui a Rua, and Kimi, who is the CE for He Puna Ora, but also, obviously, whakapapas, who the Valley and Pariwahawaha. Tawhiti and I have been colleagues for a long time. Tawhiti is also from the Rohe, but also is Kahanunu, Rongoma Wahine, and many other aspects to Tawhiti, and Tawhiti works as our pautikanga. Also over here are some of the rest of the whānau who do amazing work, and I'm just so privileged to work with such talent and such commitment and drive for a kaupapa that is dear to all our hearts. As you know, as has been said by many, we have the ability to make it something that we want that to be. And as Bob Marley says, emancipate yourself from mental slavery, none but ourselves can free our minds. So let's not forget that, because that's actually the key to making the movement successful. For a long time, maybe, our psyche has been affected by the colonial processes and the continuous story of a deficit one around defining what we might look like and how we might behave. Well, no more. No more of that. For 20 or 30 years, the seeds have been sown for a different narrative. And now, because we are in the generations that we are, we have the ability to help with the uprising of our people to be able to take to the front stage the position that we should have. So as has been said by the speakers this morning, this is our right, but it is also our role, and we must all stand to do that. Anyway, that was a political broadcast for no party. But today we wanted to be able to share, as others had, what happened in our rohe in 2020 as a result of COVID. I think as challenging as it was, and as amazing, everybody did the things that needed to be done in the rohe that they were living in. And it was absolutely incredible to watch people stand and do those things that were needed amongst our hapore. So, you know, like everybody has said, congratulations to all of us, tātou. We did a good job of that, and that means that we have more good jobs to do. We have a little video that we wanted to share. We decided that we'd make like a little documentary. Had an idea, thought, let's give this a go. Oh my God, I never realized there was so much to making a documentary, but we'd already started it. So we needed to find a way to conclude it and get it sorted and then present it. And we had a wonderful occasion launching it as a red carpet event. And it was great for whānau to see themselves in it. So it's made up of 4 parts, and we're just going to show you the first part, and then I'll just do a little summary. So I hope that you enjoy it. Tēnā koe.
When COVID-19 hit the shores of Aotearoa and as fear started to take hold across the country, iwi and Māori communities mobilised. Relationships that have been forged across generations were able to move and activate resource with urgency. A realisation that iwi and Māori had the capability to move together to ensure communities were well equipped to provide for their whānau, hapori, hapu and iwi. This 4-part docu-series will cover what happened across the mid-central region during the COVID-19 lockdown period. We will hear stories from whānau members, kaimahi, iwi leaders and government agencies that highlight how the region flourished during this time.
Non-essential businesses in New Zealand must now close. All bars, restaurants, cafes, cinemas, pools, museums, libraries, playgrounds, any other place where the public congregate must close their face-to-face function.
When we moved into the lockdown phase, everything just happened so quickly. It was actually quite massive.
It was something that we'd never ever seen before in our lifetime.
There wasn't time to really think. We had 24 hours to mobilise, but naturally as Māori, that's something that we can do very quickly and very effectively.
Ruahine Whānau Ora found it to be very difficult being alone in that time.
We put in place a system to deliver out of Auckland as our main port essential equipment, for the want of a better way to put it, to our poorer communities up and down the country.
I certainly realised how unprepared we were for a pandemic, and from a Māori organisation's perspective and seeing Māori throughout the motu, how we can react to protect our people and protect our communities was amazing to watch how our families stood up. Even our whānau that normally would consider themselves as people that are not really needed in the community were actually the ones that stood up.
As an iwi, we saw a responsibility for us to help our people. We knew that it was going to be a tough times ahead. And I then said that we need to also look after our people out through Te Reo, commonly known as the Valley, and over towards Ruahine Whānau. We said we would look after all of our people in the northern region of Ngāti Raukawa for fielding, kauwhata, for the Valley, to help them Te Reo, and over in Bulls, Ruahine Whānau.
The experience of lockdown particularly was a time for reflection, and it brought forward whakaaro that you might often put on the back burner, and it made you think about the things that were really important.
Lockdown also taught my family the true difference between a need and a want. We found out that no, we don't actually need to be going buying takeaway every night. We actually can cook and cook quite mean. We found out that, you know what, we don't have to go to these movie theatres or these adventure parks or stuff like that that cost an arm and a leg to go to. You know, you can make these basic games at home with just a stick and a bit of know-how and a bit of imagination. Your children, you'll find it, they'll have loads more fun with this simple game than taking them off to these places that pretty much would make you broke.
Every day was a different day, every hour was a different hour. When we went into lockdown, there was this peace, I guess. Yeah, peace. There was there was no people around, there was no traffic around. You actually got the opportunity to hear the birds singing.
I definitely learnt about the different heartbeats of the different hapu and how we engage with that.
Before we were pretty stuck in our procedures and processes on how we deliver our service, but now being in a pandemic and being at lockdown level, it's made us have to use our initiative a lot more on how the way we deliver our service.
COVID has actually united us more, but our natural network certainly kicked in. But I think it was a very kind of aha moment for government departments to realise how quickly
we could mobilise and interact with our communities.
During the distribution, we went back to our natural reality as Māori to our own people and also to our own tangata whaora. It just felt natural. Hei whakaora, tangata hei whakaora, Tihi.
Our people stood up and at great risk to themselves, their own whānaus, came together to work together.
We just did what was best for our whānau. I mean, it was all common sense stuff, basically. We had farmers coming in and dropping sheep off in the first 2 weeks because we had no access from anybody, so we started providing for ourselves.
There was a lot happening in many different spaces in the community, but we tried to bring together the key players, which we successfully did, and together we became a powerful voice and a powerful collective for advocating for what our community needed during the various levels.
The mobilisation of that inside of 10 days was a remarkable event.
During the pandemic, life as we knew it changed. We forged our way to a new normal. Iwi and Māori leadership were collected drivers of a shared aspiration to ensure our community, while forced to isolate, continued to be connected. Iwi and Māori fully realised their agility and were able to harness new ways to connect to their whānau, hapori, hapu and iwi.
So I guess that you can see that it was iwi and Māori led, that we came together as one. And I think Ness talked about yesterday that we would every day, you'd have the 1 o'clock, and then at 2 o'clock we would have a Zoom with everybody. So there were 15 rōpū across the landscape. Iwi and Māori came together. We would also then reach in and get those from government departments. If we had some challenges or we needed some issues resolved, then they would come to the table, to that Zoom, where they would get asked to be able to actually either remove those barriers or provide an answer to the questions that were being asked. And there was no two ways about it. That's the way it operated, and that's the way it rolled. We did find that in the next kind of phase, they wanted to kind of take back some of those roles and responsibilities. They wanted to be calling those shots. They wanted to stand up again and be, oh no, we'll have to do it this way or that way. It was wonderful to watch just the iwi go, I don't think so, sit down, and when you're needed, then we will bring you forward. With all due respect, we are capable of doing this, more than capable, and we no longer need your colonial, institutionalized thinking to steer our pathway. We will steer that, and you, as servants of the Crown, will come alongside of us and will unleash the resources that are required. That's how we should be approaching everything from now on. There are many people in the audience who have done those things. I look and I can see Amo Haere, who was very instrumental in our relationship with the government at a time when we were looking to bring together government agencies for a collective impact piece. Without the assistance of Amo Haere, it would have been very challenging for us to have moved across that line. So we owe a great deal to many. This is not something that any of us can do on our own, but we are grateful for all the skills, talents, manakitanga, whanaungatanga, and hopefully our continued kindness and aroha to each other. I've heard that message a couple of times over the course of us being together, and there is a lot of that still challenges us at times. We sometimes also have to be frank about our own challenges, about the things that we desire and how we will be able to do that together. I heard Kiri talk about ego and about moving ego aside. This is about kaupapa and our opportunity to tautoko that kaupapa. Nō reira, he mihi atu ki a koutou, Tēnā rangatira, tēnā rangatira, tēnā koutou katoa. I'll just turn it on. I just don't want to be singing with the mic on.